Welcome to my channel Global Scope. Subscribe to my channel for news updates all around the world. The Supreme Court of the United States stands as the highest court in the nation, serving as the ultimate authority on critical legal questions and constitutional interpretation. Its decisions are final, and its influence reaches every corner of American society. The court not only shapes laws and defines rights, but also interprets the Constitution, ensuring that the fundamental principles of justice and liberty are upheld for all citizens. Recent unanimous rulings on issues like gun rights, religious freedom, and workplace rights highlight its far-reaching influence. These decisions often spark national conversations and can lead to changes in public policy. These landmark decisions set strong legal precedents, guiding lower courts across the country and directly impacting the daily lives of millions of Americans. For instance, a single ruling on free speech can reshape the boundaries of media content, affecting what journalists can report and how information is shared with the public. Meanwhile, decisions about business liability can influence the safety of consumer products, workplace standards, and even the way companies operate. The court's interpretations create a legal framework that governs interactions between citizens, corporations, and the government, shaping the rules by which society functions. By examining these rulings, we can see the court's deep and lasting impact on public safety, personal liberty, and the protection of civil rights for all. The justices have tackled complex cases involving the limits of government power, the responsibilities of industry, and the rights of individuals, often setting the course for future generations. The outcomes of these cases ripple through society, influencing how we live, work, and interact with one another every day. By understanding these Supreme Court decisions, we gain valuable insight into the core principles and values that the court upholds, shaping the legal landscape for all Americans now and in the future. In a bold and historic move, Mexico filed a groundbreaking lawsuit against several major U.S. gun manufacturers, marking the first time a foreign government has taken such direct legal action in American courts over gun violence. The Mexican government claimed that the business practices of these companies have directly fueled the deadly cartel violence plaguing their country, leading to countless tragedies and destabilizing entire communities. Seeking billions of dollars in damages, Mexico argued that the gun makers' designs, marketing strategies, and distribution methods made it alarmingly easy for criminals and cartels to obtain powerful firearms, despite strict Mexican gun laws. Mexico's legal team insisted that the manufacturers were not just bystanders, but complicit in the violence, pointing to the widespread use of military-style weapons by organized crime groups. In response, the U.S. gun manufacturers mounted a strong defense, citing a federal law known as the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, which shields them from liability for crimes committed with their products after legal sale. They argued that their responsibility ends at the point of sale to licensed dealers, and that they cannot be held accountable for the illegal actions of others, emphasizing their compliance with U.S. regulations. The case quickly became a flashpoint, highlighting the deep clash between a nation desperate to curb violence within its borders and an industry fiercely defending its right to lawful commerce and Second Amendment protections. It raised urgent questions about corporate responsibility, the ethical obligations of global businesses, and the extent to which U.S. law can be applied to international harms. Ultimately, the case reached the highest levels of the American legal system, with the Supreme Court tasked to decide which legal principles, national sovereignty, corporate accountability, or established U.S. law would prevail in this complex and unprecedented international dispute. In a landmark decision, the Supreme Court unanimously ruled in favor of U.S. gun manufacturers, delivering a clear and decisive message regarding their legal responsibilities. The justices based their ruling on the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, or PLCAA, a federal law passed in 2005 to protect gun makers and sellers from being held liable for crimes committed with their products. This law specifically shields gun manufacturers from lawsuits that attempt to blame them for the misuse of firearms by third parties, even in tragic cases involving criminal acts. The court determined that Mexico's lawsuit against U.S. gun companies was precisely the type of legal action the PLCAA was designed to block, reinforcing the law's original intent. The ruling made it clear that simply selling a legal product, such as a firearm, does not make manufacturers or sellers responsible for how those products are later used illegally. By affirming this principle, the decision placed the responsibility for gun violence squarely on the individuals who commit crimes, not on the companies that manufacture or sell firearms in accordance with the law. The unanimity of the decision highlights the Supreme Court's agreement on the clarity and strength of the PLCAA's protections for the firearm industry. The court also emphasized that if there is to be any change to this legal framework, it must come from Congress through new legislation, not from the judiciary through court rulings. Ultimately, this ruling provides much-needed legal certainty for the firearm industry, ensuring that the protections intended by Congress remain firmly in place, and that the rules governing liability are clear for all parties involved. The Supreme Court's decision was based on a clear interpretation of the PLCAA, preventing lawsuits like Mexico's. Congress enacted the PLCAA to protect gun companies from being bankrupted by litigation over gun violence. The court distinguished between lawful business practices and direct criminal involvement. Mexico's case failed to show that manufacturers knowingly broke laws related to firearm sales. The ruling reinforces that companies aren't liable for how their legal products are used post-sale. This principle applies across industries, not just firearms, placing blame on those who misuse products. The decision directs focus on law enforcement and legislation to address gun trafficking and violence. The ruling is a victory for the firearm industry and Second Amendment supporters, shielding manufacturers from lawsuits. It allows companies to continue operations without fear of financial ruin from litigation. The decision impacts future gun control debates, noting the common use of AR-15s for lawful purposes. This language may influence arguments against bans on such firearms. The ruling clarifies the narrow path for holding gun makers accountable under current law. It energizes Second Amendment advocates and shifts gun control efforts toward legislative action. The decision underscores that crime responsibility lies with criminals, not manufacturers. The Supreme Court's influence extends beyond gun rights, with key decisions on free speech and religion. In NRA versus Vullo, the court protected free speech, ruling against government coercion of private companies. This decision safeguards against government overreach and protects public discourse. The court also strengthened religious freedom, siding with a Catholic charity on tax exemption. It clarified that religious groups don't lose status for providing secular services. These decisions highlight the court's role in defining rights and responsibilities in American life. The Supreme Court's recent decisions will reshape American life, affecting citizens, businesses, and government. Unanimous rulings on gun liability, free speech, and religious freedom set strong legal precedents. The gun ruling provides stability to the industry, affirming crime responsibility lies with perpetrators. Free speech protection in NRA versus Vullo guards against government overreach. These decisions define power balance in a free society, impacting business operations and individual rights. The court's work clarifies constitutional and federal law boundaries, influencing future legal battles. As these decisions are applied, their full impact on public policy and legal frameworks will become clear.